Hi there, YouTube. I skipped last weekend because number one, I was sick, and number two, I have been very busy. So we're getting ready to do a full and complete kitchen renovation in my house. And so I can't wait to show you guys that in a month or two when it's done. Been very busy at work, been very busy with Taekwondo, learning sidekicks and things like that. Yeah, and some big storms this week. Lost a couple trees. Kids had some time off school unexpectedly, which they were overjoyed about. So anyway, let's talk kingdom songs. Today's kingdom song illustrates the black and white thinking that's very common, I would say even fostered and encouraged within the Jehovah's Witness religion. The point of the whole song that we're looking at today is this: there are only two sides in life. Only two. Black and white. Watchtower or wickedness. No gray area, no nuance, no exceptions. Oh, and Watchtower equals Jehovah, in case you didn't know. Now, this song is still in the current songbook, believe it or not, and has been around since 1966 and possibly before. In 1966, it was song number 76. In 1984, it was song number 143. In 2009, it was song number 27. And in the 2017 songbook, it is song number 32. It is called Take Sides with Jehovah. Now, there were no changes to this song between 1966 and 1984, but in 2009, predictably, they started adjusting a few things.
Once with confusion, our sad hearts were filled, drinking the cup false religion distilled.
That's interesting. I didn't know religions operated distilleries. Wow. You know, if this were true, a lot more people might attend church. I'm just saying. So they're saying here that regular religion, mostly Christianity, because that's prevalent in the U.S. where the Jehovah's Witnesses really started, regular religion makes people sad and confused. Well, okay, I tend to agree with that, but I actually think that the Jehovah's Witnesses are far worse about this than the average Christian church. There's a lot of comparing and contrasting that we could do here, but I'll distill it down. See what I did there? In a regular Christian church, people are told that there's this thing called grace and forgiveness for sins without the need for any shunning or groveling for months and possibly years to be let back in the congregation. No sitting in the back room. You don't lose your family if you smoke a cigarette or have sex or vote or whatever. And you're promised heaven when you die if you behave yourself. All right, let's not kid ourselves. You don't even have to behave yourself. All you have to do is repent on your deathbed and off to heaven you go. And while you're alive, you get to have birthday parties and celebrate holidays, and you don't have to be left out of everything fun. But if you're a Jehovah's Witness, there are a ton of expectations and work, lots of begging, groveling, and even if you do all of it correctly, you're still not guaranteed the reward, which is just living on earth forever with the added bonus of cleaning up billions of dead bodies after Armageddon. I mean, sure, you might get to pet a lion or a tiger or something, but you might not. Oh, and no holidays, no voting, no beards, no smoking, no jerking off. And if you get into an accident and lose a ton of blood, you're expected to take one for the team and just die about it, okay? Or else face shunning when you recover, if you recover, because you took a blood transfusion. Now, which of these scenarios is the most sad and or confusing? Hint, it's not regular religion. See? No distilleries required. Jeez. I cannot believe I am actually defending religion. Oy.
But with what happiness our hearts were thrilled, when of God's kingdom we first heard.
The extra singing parts were removed in 2009. Too bad. You know, I actually liked those when I was a kid. It made the songs at least a little bit interesting because I was usually one of the only people in the congregation who would actually sing them. At first, I just kind of sang them to myself when I was really little, like, "He first heard." But I started to notice that it sort of made people sitting close to me laugh, so I kind of started doing it a little bit louder, and I ended up just belting them out every time. Fun times. But hey, as a Jehovah's Witness, you kind of take the fun you can get, you know? Was your heart thrilled with happiness when you studied the Live Forever book? How about the Paradise book? You remember that one? That was the kind of weird, peachy colored, like, racist flesh-colored book that the Live Forever book replaced in the 80s. Now, I know that they've replaced the Live Forever book now, but I don't really know what the new one's called. I did attempt to care for the purposes of this video, but I'm sorry. I just can't want to. This is actually reinforcement of the shoulds involved with being a Jehovah's Witness. As in, we should feel happy and joyous and downright ecstatic and warm fuzzy about the kingdom. We should, but nobody really does. At least not very often. And the ones who do might be a little unbalanced. If you think about the paradise too much, though, eventually you kind of start asking questions. I mean, it's natural. Like, how will we recognize our resurrected loved ones if they're in new bodies? How's the food chain going to work if all the animals are vegetarians? Will there be electricity? Is there going to be running water? And are the elders still going to be in charge? And we know what critical thinking and too many questions will do to the faith of the average Jehovah's Witness. Don't think about it. Just be happy and thrilled about the idea and move on down the road. Okay, sisters? There are more doors to knock on. Get back to work.
Take sides with Jehovah. Make him your delight. He'll never forsake you. Walk in his light.
I have so many problems with this. So many. First of all, if Jehovah is supposed to be the almighty creator of the universe, how could there be any other side but his? I mean, he created everything and supposedly has ultimate power. How could anything or anyone stand against him if any of this were true and he actually existed? I mean, who would you take sides against? Secondly, in case you haven't noticed, he is actually silent and invisible. He has never given any indication that he exists at all, much less that he cares about you or me. How are you supposed to make him your delight when you have no feedback from him whatsoever? I mean, have you ever tried to continue a friendship with someone who is giving you the silent treatment? Have you tried continuing a relationship with maybe a family member who's shunning you? How hard is that? You can't have a relationship with somebody or something that gives you nothing. You can't. It's not possible. So how can you say that he'll never forsake you when he's never been there for you in the first place except inside your own mind? Well, of course we know that the Jehovah's Witnesses equate the Watchtower with Jehovah. So what this really means is take sides with Watchtower, make them your delight, etc., etc. Because let's face it, Watchtower has many enemies. The law, ethical human beings, former members who kind of seen through their sham after being abused and shunned for years. I don't know. Let's talk about whether or not the Watchtower will ever forsake you. Let's ask the Bethelites, who were let go and sent back to the field a few years ago. I bet they could tell you. These were people who had devoted their entire adult lives to Watchtower service. They had no education outside of Watchtower, no career, no job history, so no resume, and who had foregone having children because the end was so near. Some of these people were old, well past their prime, and they just got cut loose without a safety net. No retirement savings, no pension, and no help at all. That kind of looks like being forsaken on a large scale to me. Doesn't it? In 2009, they changed the word heir to on.
And I'll tell the glad tidings of freedom and peace. His rule by Christ Jesus will ever increase.
The Witnesses' glad tidings are certainly not about freedom, y'all. And if there's actually any peace at all involved, it's completely artificial and only exists because constructive conflict and healthy questioning are not allowed. Jehovah's Witnesses are not free. Not by any stretch of the imagination. There are so many rules, many of them not even written down anywhere, that it is literally impossible to keep up. The main thing you always have to remember as a Jehovah's Witness is that you're always wrong, no matter what. There's always something wrong with you. You can never be okay. This last line, though, makes me think about a perfume commercial for some reason.
Rule by Christ Jesus, ever increase.
But wait, how can his rule increase if he's ruling the entire world? Or at least the entire world after Armageddon, when he kills everybody who opposes him or doesn't pick a side or whatever. Who is left to bring in at that point? He killed everybody else.
Now with our whole hearts we will serve our God and share in spreading his truth all abroad.
This line is really clunky because the stress in the melody is in the wrong place for the words. It's really awkward. And of course we're going to serve with our whole hearts, because as witnesses there's nothing left in there to distract from our slavish devotion to Watchtower, since we have actually excised our own inner voices by now and removed any close attachment to any other person, especially anyone not a Jehovah's Witness. And of course, if you're wholehearted, you just can't wait to get out there and preach, preach, preach. In 2009, these lines were changed to, "Now we're rejoicing in serving our God, spreading the seeds of his truth all abroad." His truth all? I don't think this is an improvement, actually. Again, we see the reinforcement of how joyful we should feel. Despite our blistered feet and our aching backs from carrying that suitcase full of books from door to door, and despite our loneliness and our depression because our lifestyle is unreasonable. Good morning, YouTube. Something happened to this clip between the exporting process into my editing software, so I have to re-record this piece. This is what I do for you. Anyway, the point here is, if you aren't joyful, then you're doing something wrong. And if you're not perfect in your service, then you might not survive Armageddon. You better plaster that smile on your face and fake it till you make it, sister. Best life ever! Okay, and let's talk about spreading your seeds. Wow. I immediately think about sowing wild oats, which Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to do under any circumstances whatsoever. So in 2017, these lines were changed again to shoulder we stand on God's side, preaching the news of his kingdom earth-wide. And again, if you believe in these silly stories, I ask you, what other side is there? And obviously, somebody at Bethel thought that the idea of sowing seeds in previous versions of this song was just a bit too risque for the brothers and sisters. Now, they're only preaching earth-wide. It's great. Got to get rid of all the fun, after all. Back to 1984.
Helping our brothers, God's virtues to laud, praising his great worthy name. His great name.
Why do they need help? Are the virtues actually so few and far between that the brothers need help finding them? Or is the lauding so complex and difficult that it requires like a special training course or something? Or do they need motivation, if you know what I mean? I think it might be the latter, actually. And of course, we could never get through a kingdom song without going on and on and on about how great his name is. I mean, y'all, isn't there something else worth mentioning? I mean, there's no good deeds we could praise him for. I mean, nothing but his name? Come on, guys. In 2017, these lines became, "Now is the time for each one to decide, time to take sides with our God." But decide what? What to have for dinner? I mean, this is a sentence fragment. It's an incomplete thought. It has to be, because the next line clearly isn't part of the same sentence. I infer that they're trying to tell us that everyone has to make a decision right this minute, whether they're going to take sides with Jehovah or not. No, we do not get to see the terms and conditions. No, we do not get to know what the other choices might be, or who or what we are taking sides against. We do not get to know even the full story of what we are siding with. Just do it right now. Time to take sides with our God. Does this feel like you're being given enough information and enough mental space to make a clear and rational decision? No? Right on, brother. Right on.
We will not fear what the devil can do, for God Jehovah will carry us through.
What can the devil really do, though? I mean, I know that growing up as a witness, we were unreasonably afraid of demons. Oh my God. Satan the devil was after us, and a demon could be lurking literally anywhere. I remember my mother telling me that I should never, ever say out loud what I was most afraid of or what I most wanted, because Satan was always listening and looking for a way to get at me. People destroyed things because they were afraid of demons. They destroyed their kids' toys, certain tapes and record albums, yard sale purchases, secondhand furniture, you name it. And it's so ironic for Jehovah's Witnesses to sing that they're not fearful what the devil can do when they were some of the biggest fraidy cats I have ever encountered in my life. It's kind of like whistling past the graveyard, you know? And it's kind of literally what they're doing here. I really can't find words to describe the abject terror that I felt as a child. But then as I got older, I started to think about it. What did those supposed demon attacks ever actually amount to? Like, what did they really do? I heard about vomiting noises, lights and appliances coming on and off, random footsteps in unoccupied hallways, levitating silverware, talking Smurf dolls, Ouija boards that kept coming back despite being thrown away. But no actual danger, though. I mean, no one was ever actually hurt, were they? Look, y'all, this is all just ludicrous. It's so stupid. The devil can't do anything because the devil doesn't exist. He's not real. He doesn't exist any more than God does. This is just silly shit that we should have outgrown by the time we were 10 years old. And besides, even if God and Satan did exist, don't they believe God's almighty? Like, that means almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing. So if you were actually a worshiper of God, could the devil really do anything to you anyway? A lot of Christians argue that God lets Satan hurt Christians to prove a point. And to that, I have to call bullshit. That would be like letting someone come into your house and beat up your little 6-year-old because you just want to prove some obscure point. Hell no. If he has the power to stop something like that, and chooses not to for any reason, but especially because he wants to stroke his own ego or prove his own greatness and sovereignty or whatever, then he's not good. Now in 2009, they changed the second line here to "Trusting Jehovah will carry us through." I guess maybe they got too many questions about what the heck a for God was. It's like an after God, only in the front.
Though they be many and though we be few, God is our strength and our might. And our might.
You know, they reused this "they be many, we be few" line in several songs in the 84 songbook. It's really very tiresome after a while. You know, I never realized it as a Jehovah's Witness, but looking back on all these kingdom melodies, they were really just one goofy cliche after another. In 2009, they changed all the B's to R's, but it didn't really improve anything, honestly. Neither did the killing off of the singing parts, the only fun thing about the whole flippin' songbook. They're such buzzkills, thieves of joy in its every little minuscule incarnation, aren't they? Oh, they're enjoying something. Quick, kill it before it spreads.
Take sides with Jehovah.
You know, not everything has to be a battle, y'all. You don't have to take a stand and die on every single hill you come to. Sometimes there's not a side. That's okay.
Make him your delight.
I need to know what other choices there are. Seriously. I mean, I tried this and it didn't work. Like, at all. Seriously, I wanted to kill myself because at 14 years old, there was no joy in my life whatsoever. And I saw no other way other than death out of a drab, joyless existence. You thought I was going to make a joke, didn't you? Sorry.
He'll never forsake you.
Oh, get real. It's impossible for him to be there for you and be your BFF and all that, because he's not there. You're talking to yourself, sweetheart.
Walk in new light.
Wait a minute. That's not what it's supposed to say.
Tell the